I'm here.
He's here. He's here too. This was your first time seeing it, right? For the both of you?
Yep, that's right.
Yep. So what were first impressions for the movies?
Tetsuo was hard to follow.
Yeah.
Tetsuo was very hard to follow. It flashes a lot of very strange imagery at you, and it's difficult to figure out what the plot is, which I kind of like in movies. I don't like when it's all laid out. But Tetsuo takes it a level beyond. I couldn't discern any real plot. When you were going over it, I was like, did I watch that movie? I watched a lot of weird stuff.
What, Nathan, what did you think of it?
I mean, I kind of understood what was going on, but I was like so disturbed by this movie. I felt like crap all day to begin with, and watching this movie, I felt sick to my stomach, and I was like, oh my god, I want this to end.
Really?
It's just the imagery is just so disturbing to me for some reason. Like when he is turning into this weird pussy metal monster. It's gross.
No. What got me was when they were biting down on forks and they were playing the metal on metal sound. That actually made my teeth hurt.
That actually gets me too.
Yeah, with how cheap this movie is, it does a really good job with making you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm really glad actually that you guys got into it and were disturbed in that way. I thought that was really fun. I liked watching it with all of you guys because we're all kind of speaking up, kind of making fun of it, but also it's kind of a mindfuck movie. So you guys were making funny comments what the hell is going on? Jackson was over in the corner, his mind just melting basically when it ended. He was like, "That was a really good movie," and Will was like, "Was it though?" Do you guys have any interpretations of it? Did you piece anything together? Did you think about it, or
as a bigger metaphor?
As whatever you took away from it?
Nope.
If you had blindly asked me, Will, what was that movie about at the very end? First of all, I didn't realize the salaryman who killed the metal obsessed man was the one who was changing.
Yeah.
I thought the metal obsessed man was transforming throughout the whole thing. And I thought he originally used to be an athlete. So for a while, during the transformations when he was with the girl, I thought the transformation was a metaphor for his sexual urges. And then later when he meets the other skinny guy, I assumed he was another runner. And then I was like, oh, the corruption or the metal transformation is a steroids thing. He's past his prime. He's been doing steroids.
I remember you saying that in the middle of the movie, actually.
And then the younger one who's kicking his ass the whole time, he wasn't transformed at all. And then towards the end of the fight, or towards the end of the movie, he starts to transform. And I was like, oh, now he's on the steroids. And he started whipping his ass. And I was like, oh, this all makes sense now.
So my interpretation is that it was a revenge movie. So the guy, the salaryman, mows down the, what did you call him? The metal fetishist. The
metal fetishist is what he's typically called, yeah.
Okay, so he mows him down, and then while he's dying on the ground, the salaryman gets out of the car with his wife and kicks his body into a ditch, and then they have sex,
right?
Above his dead body, basically. And so he haunts them.
That happened?
Yeah.
I remember seeing people having sex, but I don't.
He kicks him into a ditch. It's from the metal fetishist point of view, and they just have sex against a tree.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, no, I think it starts out like that, he's haunting him. It's a revenge thing, and then this battle between the two of them just so comes to define who they are that they end up developing
mutual respect.
Yeah, they end up developing this strange mutual respect for each other. It's a love-hate relationship, which they end up consummating in the end when they basically have sex and end up as this giant dick tank. Yeah.
God, some of the imagery in this movie is so good, and I'm so glad that you told me that this movie was made for nothing, because when you watch it with that context, it's really impressive what they're able to pull off.
Well, because you were saying in it, because we were watching it, and there's this fucking awesome stop motion fight that they have across the city, and Will perfectly articulated exactly what I feel about that stuff, where he was like, this is like what they could do, and they did it as best they could, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I love the jank of this movie because it's
The
like this
stop motion effect looks really good in a lot of the stuff. Like when they have these metal wires and stuff coiling up and around shit.
I love a lot of the look of this movie. It came out in 1989. It was made by Shinya Tsukamoto, who it was made with a really small crew over like a few months, I think, and most of the crew, because it was such terrible conditions and they had no money, most of the crew ended up bailing on them to the point where it was like only the actors were around to like finish the movie. And it was basically Shinya Tsukamoto, who also played the metal fetishist in the movie. The woman who was like the girlfriend in it, I can't remember her name, but she was a filmmaker too. She stuck around. And then the guy who played the salary man, were the only people that stuck around, and the only person that wasn't living on set was the salary man, and he was like, I feel like I probably would have bailed too if I didn't have time to like just be by myself. It does look janky and low budget, but you're like, how the fuck did they pull some of this stuff off? Because they're like running through the city and stuff. They're doing these stop motion sequences down streets and everything.
Driving a giant dick tank.
They're driving a giant dick tank.
And some of the stop motion stuff is not small. Like
no.
They have the head that extends out on like some metallic coils of shit and like loops around all this stuff. That was
exactly.
Looked like a big project.
Well, because they were like, he was like, Shinya Tsukamoto was like a really creative guy, and he would do like theater plays, but like he would do like these kind of monster movie in the form of a play, basically. And they would make these like really elaborate sets. So I don't know if they like reuse some of the sets for it and everything, but whatever they did, it was like, holy shit, like they spent a lot of time and money on this.
So would you say this is a popular movie in Japan?
When it came out, it won a bunch of awards and everything. They put it in a Venice Film Festival. Like, so internationally, it was pretty popular too. They put it in a Venice Film Festival that Shinya Tsukamoto actually couldn't attend. Like, he didn't have the money to. And so when it ended up winning a major award, there was just some random Japanese lady in the audience that didn't even work on the movie, but she was Japanese. So they're like, just accept the award. And so like and so there's video of this like just random woman going up and like accepting the award, and like Shinya Tsukamoto himself found out like a long time later, like, oh, I won. But the guy, so I've seen a lot of his work, actually, despite how hard some of it is to come across in America. But I have this movie that I've watched a bunch too called Basic Tsukamoto. That's a documentary about him, and they like interview him and stuff. It's like, and I've seen that like probably more times than I've seen Tetsuo the Iron Man, because I actually find him a really interesting guy, and I find that movie like kind of inspiring, that documentary, just because I'm like, God, he's so cool. But he seems like sort of an unassuming guy. Like, he doesn't know like if his work has too much merit to it, because he made this other movie before he did Tetsuo the Iron Man called The Adventures of Electric Rod Boy. And it's a similar style. It's like stop motion. It's this like crazy anime kind of fight and everything, but it's about this kid that has an electric pole like growing out of his back, and he has like powers and everything. He travels through time and fights like a dystopian future. It's fucking weird. But anyways, he put that into a festival, and there's in the documentary Basic Tsukamoto, apparently Shinya Tsukamoto was like in the festival watching the awards, and he had like a camera and he was kind of recording it. And he was like recording it expecting to like get somebody going up to the podium to get it, and they announced his name, and he's like sitting there with the camera for a second, and he's like, oh, that's me. And and then he goes up.
That's pretty funny.
So humble.
So this like the cyberpunk movie, like Johnny Mnemonic has a totally different kind
vibe,
of
yeah,
aesthetic to it, but I kind of feel like this movie is like a punk rock music video.
Tetsuo the Iron Man,
right? Yeah, Tetsuo, and I can imagine like I don't really follow punk rock all that much, but I can like imagine how it's so in your face and like just quick images and loud, music and all that stuff. But
I think there is a major difference between like Western cyberpunk and what's referred to as Japanese cyberpunk. I think Western cyberpunk can be more closely attributed to what you typically perceive like science fiction to be. Like it's mostly about like technology, the dissolution of society, and like the effects of technology on people. Whereas the Japanese cyberpunk, they're not even really science fiction films almost. It's like they're like art films,
right,
or like a music video.
I didn't even really I'm surprised that this is considered cyberpunk because it doesn't really feel like a cyberpunk movie to me.
I think where it comes from is the like strange obsession with mechanical objects and like telephone poles and metal in the case of Tetsuo.
It's not so much like technology like America or Western cyberpunk is. It's more just like industry,
Yeah, no, I think so. But I think they put the way they film it and the way they sort of like create their worlds is it comes off almost like an extreme, even though they're using stuff that's already there, like the world that we live in now, it comes off so extreme that it almost looks like a dystopian industrial society. Jackson Berry, shout out to Jackson Berry.
J-Bone.
J-Bone.
If you're listening, this one's for you.